Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Banner and Backbone. I'm Nick Paro. Today, we have a special episode of Powerful Voices with a new friend of mine that I have just started to get to know and really have enjoyed hearing your thoughts and ideas and the values that we share um, and the approaches that we are both trying to take for a pro democracy society and to maintain a constitutional republic. So I want to welcome on T from This Will Hold. Um, and T is, as I pull up your bio, um, is newer to me, but not new. And I got to see her on with Zev Shalev and Dean Blundell last week or the week before, talking about the election in Tennessee right after it happened. And she is an expert. And so her background is in clinical psychology and political science.
Yes.
Um, and you have never trusted Elon Musk. You
No,
spent
I have
over a
not.
you spent over a decade in the military during the Russia is the enemy era. So thank you for your service.
Which
Um,
is still the enemy, but back when
oh, absolutely.
it was, all the everybody was talking
Yes.
and it was on the forefront. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And so thank you for being a part of the anti-Russia part of this. Like,
Hero.
I'm not against the Russian people. I am against the Russian government that continues to oppress its people
Correct.
and target
Yep.
that oppression towards America and destruction towards America. Like,
Yep.
shame on you, Russian government.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And that's an important distinguishment to make because we really words are important. And so we try to avoid, it's not Russia, it's Putin and, his lackeys. It's not the whole United States, it's Donald Trump and his people. And it's not all of Israel, it is Netanyahu. And,
mhm.
it's important to make those, to draw those lines because otherwise we get grouped into, saying things that aren't true. So that we're real
Yeah.
careful. Yep.
Yeah. And truth is really important. Words mean a lot of things. And if we use the right ones in the right contexts, they mean really important things. And it gets powerful messages across. And so it looks like you've been a part of doing things like that over the last decade as you have spent the time building the Common Coalition, working on legislation, mostly in the health sector, eliminating food deserts, improving access to quality food, healthcare, and schools in underserved communities. You volunteered on multiple political campaigns, um, and you are an elected official yourself.
I
Ooh,
am. Yeah.
that's very
Although it's
cool.
say that because I was unopposed. So
Well,
when
you
the
still
mail
got elected.
comes through and it says the honorable and it's like, but I didn't run against anyone. It feels like
Well,
cheating.
congratulations. That's awesome.
But I've been politically active for a very long time. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and so I'll hand it over from there to you. Is towards the end of all of this and all of your activity and activism and organization, you noticed and started seeing issues coming before the 2024 election,
Yes.
and you stumbled into election integrity while writing a book about the GOP and fell
Mhm.
into the rabbit hole of Elon Musk ties to companies with access to over 70% of the US election equipment, along with individuals like Peter Thiel
Yeah.
and some of the groups associated with Peter Thiel. And now you're working alongside the Election Truth Alliance to platform their data and provide analysis, it sounds like, and
Yeah.
thought on what has happened. And so, T, can you take over from here and introduce the rest of anything else you'd like to about yourself. And like I said, we'll jump into the conversation from there.
Hmm. Yep. So yes, I've been working on legislation for a long time. And that was also a little bit by accident. I just happened to be at a elementary school, and I was delivering some things, and I saw a long line of children at the nurse's office, and I asked one of the teachers, was there a lice breakout or what was going on? And she said, no, those are all the children that didn't have breakfast. And I mean, this line was like around the corner of children that had not eaten. And that's sort of when, and that was over a decade ago, when the food desert, all of that became just boom in front of us. And so we'd already been working on helping voters understand why their vote matters, why they need to be involved, and, working at the local levels, and don't just show up for, the big elections. You got to be in them, in all of them, because, what affects us in our immediate space is at the local level. And so, seeing that, and it just sort of grew from there. So we started building the team. And then as we got closer to this last election, really ramped up the efforts. And we've got, everything from constitutional lawyers and cybersecurity experts to military, intel, constitutional lawyers. I might have said that already, I don't remember. But a little bit of everybody, creatives, pretty much everywhere I could pull from. I'm not supposed to talk with my hands, and I'm trying to stop doing that.
I talk with my hands all the time.
And so there's one of my cats. So we just pulled from everywhere. Everybody kind of wanted to jump in and join. And, we were there for the rallies for Vice President Harris. And we know we saw, heard, felt all of the excitement. And that's why this mission feels so absurd, because it's like we're being told not to trust our own instinct, our own gut, our own common sense. They told us for a year they were going to steal the election. And to that point, when Elon started constructing his low Earth orbit direct to cell network, which is different than the, Starlink that he initially had put up, it's a different infrastructure. One of my techs came to me early last year in the spring, and as rapidly as he was building it, he said, Elon Musk is going to steal the election. And in hindsight, I sort of initially kicked myself when everything went down. Like, what if we had said something? We could have, prevented it. But considering that we've been yelling for a year that they did steal it, and we have all this data, and we're trying to get the message out, and no one will hear it, I don't know that they would have, paid attention then. Because, Donald Trump said how many times on television, I don't need your votes, and I've got all the votes I need. And no one did anything about it. Like, no one thought, that's kind of weird that he's talking like that. So I don't know that we could have necessarily prevented anything, but yes, we were kind of on the front end of knowing that something was possibly going to be happening. And then we were watching as numbers were coming in, and we knew on election night that something was very wrong. So that's kind of, and then of course, as you said before, with the ties, I am still writing that book and got sidetracked by all of this, but noticing that the rabbit hole of Elon Musk, and stumbling across that thread of, hey, did you know that Elon Musk has access to 70% of the voting equipment in this country? And that was like a what moment. And of course, I don't trust him, because in 2001, he was saying we need to be friends with Russia. And all of us in the military at the time were like, why is this dude talking like this? No, we don't. So,
and then right before the election, it was revealed that he had secret meetings very recently too with
Yes.
Putin and phone calls. And they told us they were going to do it. And why do we not believe the words that people are telling you?
Right.
And the actions that follow suit.
Yep.
So
yeah, having meetings. And then also I'm in several of the Ukrainian groups with their troops, and they were saying, right around the, when the war had started, that the fellows that they were capturing had access to Starlink. And so that's treason. You're providing aid to an enemy. So when Elon Musk is talking about being worried he's going to go to prison, well, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're handing off
yeah, he has good reason to worry. So let's get into it then. I have your article linked in the top right corner for everybody in the screen or on the viewing, there's a QR code you can scan with T your first really big major article of She Won.
Mhm.
Um, can we can you talk about that one more in depth, because that goes into what you're talking about right now on the manipulation, and I can pull it up too so we have it on the screen if you'd like. If there's any specific points you really want to have like a visual on so people could really understand as we get to them what we're talking about, I can always pull up the visual too. So if we want it on the screen for anybody, we may be able to do that. But I want to get into like what happened in 2024. I mean, it seems so long ago. Like
I
what
know.
happened
It's
last
like
November?
it's like we've lived 5 years in one, right? Just
Yeah.
with everything, fire hose of rage, which is by design. That's Steve Bannon. So the first article started because the Rockland County suit had been filed, and they had noticed some missing bones. Like there was on road. Is that your little?
That's we've got a little one around. I keep everything. Yeah, we've got noises around and it's fun.
Cute.
I like interruptions.
Oh, little
Um,
voices. So
yeah,
the
little
smart.
voices are fun. It makes us real.
Oh, 100%. As do cats walking around.
Uh huh.
So the smart elections legal case, and unfortunately, that did finally make it to court, and the judge had to dismiss it because the plaintiffs that had initially filed last year ended up dropping from the case, and the organization Smart Elections that had brought the case, it was her statement that the plaintiffs had been intimidated. And so it's very strange how we can donate as much money as we want to political campaigns as a corporation and we're considered a person, but she's in court representing a corporation and doesn't have standing because she's not a person. So, these laws are clearly not, they're skewed in one direction and it's not a good one.
Yeah.
So, so that had hit, and it was also tied to a piece where Pro V&V and the election equipment companies have had a long-standing history of corruption, and they had pushed through an update to the software on some of the election equipment, and they did it under a label of what's called de minimis, and that means they can push it through without review. And the more we dug, the more we realized they've been doing this for decades. Just filing things under de minimis. And then the more we dug there, we realized that the governing body, the EAC, that is, supposed to be protecting our elections and working on behalf of the people, had forged a document. So Pro V&V is one of the two entities that tests and certifies our election equipment, and they'd gone 4 years with no certification. And so EAC just like pencil whipped a fake certification, forged a document for them, and they caught. So, like through the 2020 election, they had no certification. It's just a mess. It's just corruption on everything. And so, to get back to to that piece, how all of this started when I stumbled down that rabbit hole of Elon Musk. It really started with a billionaire in Chicago who had handed over a large portion of his estate to Leonard Leo. And within that state was a company by the name of Trip Light. Well, Trip Light supplies, and it's not like your power supply. It's not like you go to Home Depot and you stick it in the wall and you stick it into an SNS or Dominion device. These are smart devices. And so Trip Light was sold. There's Leonard Leo. Yep. So he now has access to this company that has access to 70% of the election equipment. Well, he's looking to offload that company, and he partners up with a corporation by the name of Eaton. And it seems like whatever, he's just selling off 1.7 billion, doesn't, put that money in the coffers, whatever. The issue there is that Eaton was already partners and doing business with Palantir. And we know Palantir. And so a few months after that, they made the statement that they were deepening their relationship. And that's where they started getting into digital, erasures and mass, uh, the ability to handle. My cat is being so extra right now. The ability to handle mass. I'm gonna have to find that.
So there
Keeping.
were,
Sorry.
sorry, I interrupted you there.
Go ahead. No, so AI-driven oversight of connected infrastructure, automated analysis of large data sets, and the most crucial piece there is secure erasure of digital footprints.
Yeah,
And
that was what I wanted to ask you about, really, is that final one right here, this secure erasure of digital footprints. And can you explain to the lay person, to those who aren't in the tech or don't have tech experience, what that actually means when
so,
we say erasure of a digital footprint?
really everywhere you go, you can be tracked. And I wish that a lot of my team wasn't working on the basis of being anonymous, because they're really the experts here. I'm more on the behavioral side, but the way that they explained it to me is that everything you do digitally leaves a footprint. And so when you're looking to do things that maybe aren't legal, you would need something that comes behind and kind of like a digital janitor cleans up behind you. And so when you're going into systems and you're changing, everything that we know that they were changing, you don't want to leave a record of having been there. And so that's what, bottom line, what they did. That's what this partnership erasure of digital footprints. And they label it all under privacy, and depending on what kind of company you are and considering how much they do in the defense sector, I'm sure they're writing it off as, oh, we need this for defense contracts, and we're doing all these things. But in reality, a few months later, they also partnered with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is obviously Donald Trump's biggest contributor. So, and everybody talks about that 225 million that he put in, but they're not talking about the 42 billion he used to purchase Twitter. So it was a lot more than people want to talk about. And then ballot proof. So these are the Doge boys. Well, one of them, and Ethan Chautran won a contest for his it's basically a ballot erasing program. If you make a mistake, it can run it through and it'll fix the mistake for you. Well, what if your mistake is you want to vote for Trump and not Harris? Okay, fixed. And then having Palantir on the back end to wipe the log, and you don't even know they're there. So yeah, it's high tech and very much undermining democracy.
And very plausible. And
Absolutely.
it's also one of the things too, like I'll say this as a prior tech person, as someone who has 6 years of experience in the software field. I was a senior DevOps engineer, which meant I wrote infrastructure and platform development for internal team use and collaborative efforts. So basically what I'm doing now, just not coding, and I connected people, but through code. This isn't terribly hard to
Right.
put in a system that just says, here's a super user that can do whatever the hell we want it to do, include deleting digital footprints. And there was a whistleblower that came out during the Doge era at the beginning, sometime in January, I think it was January, February, talking about the spike in traffic immediately from Russia with user passwords after Doge stole a whole bunch of data.
Yeah.
And they did it while doing it, they deleted their digital footprint. So it's removal of metadata and the pieces of data that are automatically collected on you anytime you do anything in the digital world.
Yep.
Think of them as cookies or metadata for your common usage. Sorry, derailed us there for a second.
Well,
But
and
these guys are
that
all linked together in
same
it.
whistleblower that he was from the National Labor Board. He said that they had come in and taken all of the systems offline, all the secure systems, installed Starlink, and then saw the activity from Russia coming in with the passwords, literally hacking, getting into our infrastructure. And because they're no longer on the secure network, it's not setting off any alarms, which is why he came forward. And then he comes home one day and there's a photo of him on his front door, a drone photo of him walking his dog. So clearly he was right. He had something, he had a story to tell and he told it. What they ever ended up doing about it, who knows? Because obviously Trump and his cronies are still in position. But yeah, it's a little bit disheartening to know that all of our stuff is just out there. Because that includes all of our secrets, everything that we look to protect with regard to our weaponry and all of the above is out there.
Available to foreign nations. That should scare everybody.
It should. Yep, it really should.
And we are quickly running out of our time because we are going to keep this to half an hour today. And this has been an incredibly good conversation so far. And I'd love to continue this if you would be willing on another day too, so that we can have more of these. Because I really enjoy being able to go deep dive into folks' articles and let them talk about the expertise and the information that's in there. Because there's a lot of really, really good stuff that you have called out here. But I want to move before we end is I want to move to the idea of what comes next. Is we know that like this whole article, I'll keep scrolling. Incredibly good article. This is what we were talking about, the direct, or T was just talking about the direct to sell portion. There is so much good information in this article.
And I think what people need most about that direct to sell is that whenever someone's talking about air gapping and it can't happen because of air gapping, they're 2 to 3 years behind the technology that we have in place now. Air gapping is a non-starter. Air gapping doesn't matter. With this technology that's in place now, it bypasses all of that. So they have the ability to communicate directly with the equipment because of this this low Earth orbit direct to cell. So
and yeah, if you're on T-Mobile or Sprint, you have direct to sell Starlink, just so you're aware. Yeah. For anybody out there. Yeah, I'm on T-Mobile, so I know. But I wanted to shift us right here at the end is now that we know all of this has happened, I know you're doing a lot of work to ensure that the information gets out there, that audits can happen, that the official audits can go in, that the states can, or the party or whoever has to do it can actually do it. What do we do? What do we do to help you? And how do we ensure that that can happen so that we have a safeguard in place prior to the next elections attempted to be stolen?
Well, so what we just watched in Tennessee, we knew what to look for, so we would know whether or not they manipulated, and they did. So that's the article that I put out last week, and then I did the follow-up on that one today. There are 9 in the She Won series. We put at the end of each one kind of steps and things you can do. But where we are now, we really need, so a lawsuit's been filed in Pennsylvania, but they're fighting. We've been trying to get, the Election Truth Alliance has been trying to get access to the ballots in Pennsylvania for months and months now. So we are really, the Common Coalition, focused on states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota if we have to go that far, but we prefer, just because Tim Walz, we don't want to, muddy any waters. We would prefer Michigan and Wisconsin. Pressure. We need access to those ballots. Like we can file the paperwork and just don't fight us, put a pot of coffee on, third party hand count audit. And for clarification, there are no more recounts now. We're way past the stage of recounts, but we can prove fraud through audits. And once we have that, or a confession would be great. If the state attorneys general decided to open investigations, which we feel they should have done a very long time ago, get the Doge boys in there and start asking some questions. And, once we have the actual evidence, because we are a country that doesn't take math and data seriously as proof of fraud, once we have those ballots and we can prove it, then we can move on to the next step. And so we obviously need to impeach Trump. So there's a couple of different ways. We can impeach him now under Article 2, Section 4. But Section 3 of the 14th is the disqualification clause. And anyone who has engaged in an insurrection or a rebellion against the Constitution, a stolen election is a rebellion against the Constitution. So we have the ability to, Section 3 of the 14th, apply that to really everybody in his administration who has previously taken an oath. I think that leaves out maybe RFK, Susie Wiles. I think that's about it. I think everybody else has previously taken an oath. So they are disqualified. And then from there, the removal piece would be Article 2, Section 4. And all we need is proof. So we just need these states to, open the doors, let us come in, let us do the audits, and get them out of there. And then from there, there isn't anything in the Constitution that just says, okay, presto changeo, she's the president. Congress would need to pass a piece of legislation, basically, and we titled the 2024 Election Correction Act, and that would put Madam Vice President in the seat that she won, because we can see the data in the swing states. We know that Democrats, again, logic. We know Democrats didn't go in and choose Donald Trump at the top and all blue at the bottom, only on election day, not in mail-in, not in early voting. Just nothing adds up as human behavior. And beyond that, Elon Musk, is texting a colleague and says he's unleashing the thing in the matrix, and it's not something we're expecting, lasers from space. Again, they told us so many times they were doing it. And so we just need our attorneys general to put the pieces together and do the investigations. And we, the people, can pressure. Again, it's a pressure campaign. It's the same way we got the Civil Rights Act done. We pressured at the local level until we could get it up to Congress. So that's what we're working on. And we've got letters, and we've got a letter going out. I'll send it over to you tomorrow, but we've got the good trouble constitutional remedy for the 2024 election. And then we've got a letter going out tomorrow to really let all of the folks running for the 2026 midterms know, hey, this happened. It's still happening. Here's the data. This is why our data looks like Russia's data. We don't want to look like that. And just they can join the fight, because they don't want to lose. You don't jump in races if you're going to lose. So
yeah,
where we are.
Yeah, the whole point is to win, or it should be, at least in these races. When it comes to political power right now, it's very important to win.
And the trouble with Afton, unfortunately, is they really, in Tennessee, Tennessee's a tough state, man. They really, especially with special elections, in this one, they shortened the window to a 3-day approval versus a 2-week. So he was sworn in before the election results were even certified. So even if she had contested, she had such a short window to look at the data. And then in 11 months, it's the midterms. So chances are her lawyers were just like, look, you gave it a good shot, and are you going to throw a bunch of money at something that in 11 months, it's time to run again? So probably one of those, don't throw good money after bad type conversations. Who knows? I wasn't in the room, but if it was me, I wouldn't have done it that way. But I'm also a lot older, and I'm a little persnickety when it comes to that type of stuff. So,
yep. So. And, we're going to work on continuing getting the word out and spreading it and seeing how we can help. And I say we, how I can help, and the communities I know can help increase the likelihood of remedies being in place beforehand, so that we don't have to worry about them stealing the 2026. We can fix the election system in a year. That could be that's a goal that we could achieve, is in a year we can get enough states and local jurisdictions to fix the election system.
Well, he's
part of that.
Blue states are going to completely disappear off the map. And to me, if I'm a blue state, I'm like, we're scrapping our election equipment while we still have states' rights, and we're going back to. So he can't do that. Like if I was a governor of a state or a secretary of state, that would be my first priority.
I would use the Washington state model of mail-in ballots only, that are all paper, that are easy, that have voter information packets with them, where you get all the candidate information. You know exactly who you're voting for. You get it in the mail like a month ahead of time. And as long as it's signed properly and dated, It doesn't even need to be dated. As long as it's signed properly, they don't care.
Right.
Um,
Glad you brought it
and
because their data is pristine.
yeah,
And so is data that in Minnesota, I think it was, yes, it was Minnesota. They had some areas where they did a hand count versus a machine count. And that data is also pristine. And it's also 6 to 8 points higher than it is when it was run through tabulators. So again, we've had experts for decades now telling us that this election equipment is compromised, and how much more proof do we need? That the same experts are still in the game saying the same things. In fact, they're coming to my Substack saying, "Thank you so much. Can you talk about this now?" And so I'm just taking it all in. And like I said, I ended up here by accident, but I'll be here for as long as I need to until we can shift
good.
back to civics and helping people understand what they need to be voting for. So, yeah.
Well, I think this is part of civics and civic education is protecting the elections and protecting our systems and making sure we give you the chance to also promote yourself and tell people where they can find your work because what you're doing is super important. Even
Yeah.
if people don't believe that the election was stolen, the work that is being done is what should be done for every functioning democratic election ever,
Mhm.
like all the time. We should always be auditing.
We should
Um,
always be
and
on. Yep. Yeah.
sorry,
And Hawaii did
we
it themselves.
were no.
They,
Go
they,
ahead. Go ahead. I keep
Hawaii,
interrupting you.
if you're looking for an example of true functioning democracy, Hawaii noticed that there was something wrong with their data and they jumped on it and audited it themselves. And that's why people need to understand they should be outraged. It should be like your little one is screaming. We should be screaming about what is happening and that we are having to file lawsuits to get access to ballots when we had 200 bomb threats and all of these problems. So at any rate, this will hold is that Substack, and the Common Coalition is the name of our organization. And I'm on Substack.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, subscribe to This Will Hold. Um,
thank
please
you.
subscribe and follow because it's important. The work that she's doing is really important. I'm here promoting her work and promoting the work that she is doing because she knows what she's talking about. And she has a team who is also working on what they know what they're talking about. And I'm just here to put that information out.
Well, thank
And I don't
you.
know what's going on in the chat right now, but nobody is trying to steal any of This Will Hold's credit. In fact, I'm trying to promote This Will Hold's credit the whole time. Um, and
I
just
can't see.
saying,
So, and I don't
just,
even, I don't worry
yeah,
about that. I don't worry about proprietary. Like if it gets out there, push it out, get it out. Everybody needs to know. The more people that know, the better, because our legislators have to listen to us. It's their job to protect us. So,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Well,
it's our job. The voter
yeah,
is the highest rank of office in this country. So go be a voter and go demand that we have great elections.
for
Um, and T, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining today and
having
being
me.
a
I
part
appreciate
of this discussion. And let's go make some positive changes. T, any final closing thoughts before we let everyone go for the day?
it. Just hold on to your hope. Everybody we're going to get through this. We've been here before. In 1933, a bunch of rich old businessmen tried to oust Roosevelt, and JP Morgan was involved then too, ironically. And we got through it.
Oh no, we lost her right there at the end. Um, and I wish we had been able to get. Hopefully, she's able to come back. If not, please subscribe to This Will Hold and continue spreading the word and the work that she's doing and her team are doing. And it's important to get that message out there. So go to This Will Hold, the Common Coalition, and get that information out. Here she is. She's back to be able to finish her statement. Perfect. I was hoping you'd be able to come back.
That's funny. I was just saying, hold on to your hope that we'll get through it because we've been here before. And yeah, I mean, they underestimated, us, millions and millions and millions of us. So that's really
Yep.
all I had.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon. Thank you, T. I really appreciate the time today.
Of course. Have a good one.
And
Thank
you too. I'll talk to you again soon.